Hey folks, so I did a video showing some discoveries, and then I realized I had to delete it because it showed one of my friend's phone numbers in one of the pictures. So I'm going to try to sum up the information again, and basically in the book of two ways, like I had thought that these two figures were, like all of these figures, they tend to be based on the map of General Seppi and the general concepts of these books of two ways. These are like 4,000-year-old ancient Egyptian, maps of the world, maps of the planet, and so it has like this guy down here is Baffin Island. So it's anything that's along the coast that if you're sailing along the coast might block you, and you might either get stuck in it or you might be confused and think it's part of the mainland. So like I think this might be Newfoundland. Over here is Baja California. So anything that's like a coastal obstruction is generally considered a gatekeeper or some kind of guardian. So anyway, it seems that this is, Siberia, Kamchatka Peninsula, and it's the nearby Kuril Islands. And then the rest of the Kuril Islands are this tail, and then this is Japan and Sakhalin. And then this seems to be Korea. This seems to be Leizhou Peninsula and Hainan Islands. And this seems to be the Malay Peninsula and then this would be like mainland Indochina, mainland Southeast Asia. And then I was thinking that these were, okay, coastal obstructions. So further along the coast, all I could think was that maybe this bird with the pointy beak, that is pointy beak, was Somalia, and that these are like basically the Red Sea coasts, and that this is the Arabian side of the Red Sea, and this is the African side. But the more I've considered it, I revised that. I mean, I've kind of toyed with that. I've gone back and forth between that and thinking that these might be the Indonesian islands that kind of abut, that go right up next to the Malaysian peninsula. And I've now come back to that as the most probable theory. And so I have some photos. Let me see first if I have, not sure if I have, see, well, this is our vision statement that I drew up for our freedom group. So Santa Cruz, brave and free Santa Cruz. And let's see. Just trying to see if I can find the photo comparison of, yeah, this one. So this shows basically what I found so far is like these three birds are that, and this snake or worm or whatever is these islands. The black inside it is the sea between the islands. You know, here's like the Long Island. It's right off the coast. Anyway, so then this is the Japanese archipelago, including the Russian Sakhalin and the Japanese Kuril Islands as the tail. And then Korea seems to be the other smaller three birds. And then I was thinking that this long peninsula was this guy, but now I realize due to the head that this is probably the Leizhou Peninsula that's curved like this, the way this gatekeeper's body is curved. And then the head is Hainan Island there. And then this gate is Southeast Asia, mainland Southeast Asia, Indochina here, and then this kind of tail here at the bottom is the Malay Peninsula here. So yeah, I basically got all that right, I think, other than this one, which I was confusing, but the Malay Peninsula, you know, it also goes right up against Sumatra, which itself goes up against Java. So I think those are considered to be part of this gate, you know, because you can't really know this gateway unless you know those gatekeepers as well. You know, it's not like with this one, with like Leizhou and Hainan, if you know both of those, then you're good, because you can either go between them or go around them. But with this, unless you understand Sumatra and ideally Java as well, you're not really going to understand what to do here. So that seems to be like what that is. And so I got some photos dealing with that. Let me see. So these are those deities. You know, like here's a photo showing, you know, it's definitely not super exact, but we can definitely say that there is this pointy part which can represent the beak here. And what really had thrown me off earlier was the fact that he seems to be perched on land, and that's why I thought he must be a peninsula. He can't be an island. But now I realize that he's perched on the Malay Peninsula. So even though he's not technically touching it, or you could say maybe his feet right here are like Singapore or something on the end, and then this stand kind of thing is the peninsula here. So so that's pretty easy to see, you know, that here's the point and it goes down and he's on the stand, and then here's the tail. It's not as easy to figure out the shape or like why they depicted Java in this way. I mean, it does seem that Java has a tail of islands, but it doesn't stick up like that. So I don't know if they just did that to make it fit in this section or what. But, you know, yeah, so these islands go on basically all the way to Papua, if not further. So anyway, I'm pretty goddamn sure this is what these actually are, and not the Red Sea coast. It may be that the Red Sea coast and maybe even the Persian Gulf were not included because they were so well known by the Egyptians, because the Red Sea was virtually considered as part of Egypt. and they may have been sailing the Persian Gulf a lot as well, so maybe that wasn't deemed necessary to include here. It's funny, I was looking up straits, like marine straits on Google Maps, and it was basically, so it put like these little tags on all the straits, or all the major straits, and now I can't undo it. Now I don't know, anytime I use Google Maps now, it just gives me these things. I don't know how to take that off. But you know, at least it's very relevant, because it seems that all of these gatekeepers are straits, you know, or they all contain or create straits. So like all right, so yeah, here is like a strait is basically narrow passage. So it's pretty dangerous. Like if you're a seller, you don't want any straits. But if there are any straits, you want to know exactly where they are. So every gatekeeper on here, I mean, not this one, because this is not a real gatekeeper. This was misidentified, I think. It's actually this. So with this being the yellow one, every gatekeeper on here is the site of major straits. And every major strait along here is included. The only one not included is the Taiwan Strait. But the Taiwan Strait is much broader than most of these, you know, like if you compare it to the Hainan Strait here, it's like 10 times wider or something probably. So these are the major, like, narrow straits, the dire straits of East Asia. And there's a lot of them, actually, because like here, these Kuril Islands, technically between almost every gap between the islands is a strait. And then certainly the gap between Sakhalin and mainland Siberia is a strait. The gap between Sakhalin and Hokkaido, between Hokkaido and Honshu, between Honshu and Kyushu, and between Kyushu, Honshu, and Shikoku here. And then even between Kyushu and Korea is called the Korean Strait. You know, and it's a pretty wide strait, you know, it's more comparable to this Taiwan Strait compared to like most of the other ones, which is why this is, I think, the area which the Book of Two Ways indicates to enter, that you should, it says open up perfect ach. That's like this gatekeeper. So I think by opening up, it means you go into the wider side of the wider opening behind the archipelago, and then you have relatively smooth sailing in here because you're guarded by the archipelago from tsunamis and stuff in the sea. So this Sea of Japan, or whatever it is probably much more easy to navigate and sail compared to the open sea. So so yeah, it's all about straits. Like every gatekeeper in Afro-Eurasia that's on this map corresponds to at least one strait. You know, like the most famous would maybe be, you know, this one, the Strait of Gibraltar, which is further down on the book. So, you know, this is Almina Peninsula, and this is Gibraltar, the Rock of Gibraltar, and it even shows their shapes. You know, that this one really curls around, and that this one has a more knobby head, and this one has kind of a more pointy nose, or I don't know, something like that. So yeah, this is the Strait of Gibraltar. This is one of the most famous straits in the world, and or arguably is the most famous strait in the world. And these are the most famous gatekeepers in the world. They're so famous that, you know, even one of their ancient names is still known, which is the Pillars of Hercules. So that system, like calling things, you know, Pillars of Hercules, or some kind of, you know, symbolic significant name to indicate these type of gatekeeping peninsulas and islands. That's how this system worked. Let's see, this one I think is Britain, but the only other thing it could be if it's not Britain would be, because it's the last one, would be, I think it's Denmark, whatever this thing is right here. Thinking it's Denmark. And but because these are both gatekeepers, and arguably this is a better gatekeeper because this might be an even narrower straits in here compared to just the Strait of Dover here. But all things considered, I still think it's Britain because A, this area might not have been as much explored by the Egyptians, and B, you know, like the Baltic basically, and B, they, I mean, there's a lot that fits, but also the relative size, the size of that gatekeeper on the book relative to the size of the other gatekeepers fits better to Britain. And also the fact it's called the gray-haired one, which suggests the White Cliffs of Dover. And then also another important thing for proving that these ones are actually these Indonesian islands instead of being the Red Sea coast is the fact that the next one over, which I was thinking might have been the Canary Islands, actually fits a lot better for it fits a lot better as Singapore. So not sure if I can even find where this is, but so like this one seems to be, this bowl seems to be the like Sicily here, and then it's attached to this thing which seems to be the toe of the boot of Italy. It even has like a similar shape there. So you know, you can definitely see like the indent there, which is right here between like the ball of the foot, I guess, and the toes. And then these 5 seem to be the other major islands of the Mediterranean: Crete, Cyprus, Sardinia, Corsica, and Majorca. But yeah, and this one seems to be Greece. Has the Peloponnese Peninsula here. It's only attached to the mainland on the eastern side there, the Corinth Isthmus. And then this peninsula seems to be this peninsula that terminates in Istanbul and basically almost touches Anatolia. And all these like little dots in here are like places, basically promontories, peninsulas, and islands along the coast. So this one is this island here. These 2 are like these islands here. This big one here is this place here in Macedonia, this peninsula. This other one seems to be probably this thing which helps create this sea. I forget what it's called, but there's the little sea that's now entirely within the Turkish borders, but is, you know, has a European coast and an Asian coast. And I guess the knob at the end would be like basically is Istanbul. I don't know if there's like an island there or what, but so that, you know, it's not super exact shape, and it's not clear. It could be that the Peloponnese shape is meant to include some of the surrounding islands. I'm not sure, but in general, this map is not it's not extremely exact on the shapes of things. It's more focused on the location of things. This is that peninsula, the Lejo, and then Hainan Island. There's Lejo, so it has that curved shape like it does on the ancient map. But oh yeah, I was basically looking for a better version of the Book of Two Ways that I can see. So yeah, this is Britain. This is so here. Well, this is not a very good picture, but all right, it might be impossible to find like a decent picture of this freaking thing. I think there should be one at the bottom of these. I guess there's those. So yeah, at least on these. Nope, still shit. There's no good picture of that. So annoying. Basically, I want to show the Singapore is like a snake shown the same way as the Kuril Islands, how they're shown as a snake or a tail or whatever. But yeah, there should be another photo in here of that, but it's just not here for some reason. Should have been right with those other ones. Okay, here. All right, so right here, there's a big island and then two little islands. And the big island is roughly the same size as Hainan Island, because this guy's head is Hainan and his tail is Leizhou Peninsula. So it should be something that is about the size of Hainan Island, and I think that only really fits for it only really fits it only really fits Sri Lanka. I mean, Sri Lanka is a bit bigger than Hainan, certainly. And, you know, it's hard to know if that's fully reflected here. But also the fact that it's attached to a gateway, which suggests it's right near the mainland, just like the Malay Peninsula is. Also supports it being Sri Lanka. I mean, I would have ruled out Sri Lanka if there were no islands between Sri Lanka and India, but there are some little islands between it, so that can explain these little white dots. And so then that also further bolsters, like these both bolster each other there, as this being Sri Lanka and this being Indonesia. And not sure why this thing is here. I've never seen that. All right, but yeah, this thing won't go away. Go away, stupid thing. Well, anyway, at the far end of this is the Britain one, so that's why it would make sense that it might be the last one, but it doesn't want to let me like look at it. Oh, there it is. So that's Britain seemingly holding Ireland, and then with all the little isles like the Shetlands and Orkneys and Hebrides and stuff like that in front of them. And so these are all straits, you know, like everything here creates a strait. Like these are all the straits, like just between the islands along Siberia that are included. Urup Strait, Brussels Strait, Diana Strait, Srednego Strait, Golovin Strait, Nazadzi Strait, Rickard Strait, Ekarm Strait, Severin Strait, Chrono something Strait, something something Strait. All right, so I think it's you reached the end of what it can record, but you can see that every single one of these are included in the map, other than maybe this one. All these straits are the gatekeepers on the map. All these straits, other than this, are all gatekeepers on the map, other than Taiwan, which is a broad strait. And even on the America side, most of these are gatekeepers, like Vancouver Island, Newfoundland, Cuba, Hispaniola. You know, these are all basically straits in the Book of Two Ways, or gatekeepers in the Book of Two Ways. So there you go. That's my spiel, and thank you very much. It won't stop. Pressing the stop button, nothing is happening. God, I love technology. Literally pressing